In the latest chapter of One Punch Man, Blast, the mysterious #1 hero, arrives back at the battlefield, this time meeting up with King and saying that he's not the only one fighting out there. And then we get this imagery of what appears to be other heroes, presumably at the same level of power that Blast is. And if you take a look deep in the background, that is God. You can see the ripples on his body. So potentially these characters that they're showing here are either other heroes from various planets that are also dealing with God and his dark cubes and his invasion, or these could be monsters that were created by God. In essence, people like Homeless Emperor that God has granted power to. You're not really able to tell from this picture, are these heroes, which it looks like to me, or aliens, are they good guys or are they bad guys? But in reference to what Blast says, I'm not the only one fighting out there, I take it to believe as these are other champions of various planets, presumably the strongest fighter on that entire planet, that are dealing with God in the exact same way that Blast is. Now, whether or not they have the exact same abilities as Blast, we have no idea yet, but it is possible. We don't know the root or the true power of Blast and where it comes from, how and why is he able to create black holes, but we also know that he can step into pocket dimensions, and we also know that he is insanely, ridiculously fast, faster than Flashy Flash, who used his ultimate kick just to test Blast out, and Blast appeared directly behind him before the kick had even finished. It's safe to say that Blast is one of the strongest, one of the fastest, potentially an Esper, and has dimensional and black hole capabilities. So to say that other planets have champions as strong as Blast, and this is incredibly exciting because this is a hint to the final arc of One Punch Man, the intergalactic cosmic war, heroes throughout the entire universe going up against God. And I think it's pretty safe to say that the final battle of One Punch Man will be Blast and Saitama and a bunch of other super powerful alien heroes and potentially villains as well that have been manipulated and granted power by God, having an insane cosmic war out in space somewhere or potentially on Earth. And at that point, we should eventually see Saitama versus God. I have all sorts of theories and speculations that I want to go over with you guys because this latest chapter was so incredibly saucy. I mean, there was so much information. We're getting into these crazy end of the world type arcs. So that's coming up right after this. Nobody who ever watched Dragon Ball Z will ever forget the Vegeta final sacrifice in order to protect Bulma and Trunks from Majin Buu. And this theme song, The Flame Reborn, from our sponsor AFK Arena, brought back that feeling of Vegeta's final sacrifice. The Phoenix, Telen, was devastated as her mother died to protect her, but Astar saved her from depression. At the critical time, fighting against Frampton, she decided to sacrifice herself to protect Astar, but the strong desire gave her incredible power. Yes, that's right, this brand new heavyweight hero is coming to AFK, the Resurging Flame. Now, if you don't know what AFK Arena is, it's an exciting card RPG game with rich levels, puzzles, and PvP. Most games force you to invest hundreds of hours to power up, but AFK is an idle mobile game, allowing you to get rewards even while you're offline. Your hero will become stronger every time that you log in. It's a comfortable and smooth game experience that players can't stop playing. It has over 100 awesome heroes from 6 different races to collect, exquisite art, and rewarding gameplay. But the Resurging Flame is the strongest and easiest hero to use in AFK history, and she's the only hero who can both heal and protect teammates. Download AFK Arena for free right now by clicking that link in the description or pinned as top comment. Use my gift code AFK2022 and Happy 2022, and you'll get 80 scrolls and many other great rewards for free. So go unlock Resurging Flame now. One thing I found a little bit interesting is Blast looks back at King and he says, "I'm not the only one fighting out there, you know." And King gives this hilarious expression, but it's almost as if the way that Blast is looking at King, he expects King to know about God, and I'm not really sure why that is. Like, I doubt Saitama has encountered God before, but he has been destroying all sorts of enemies, so there could be some reasoning there why Blast believes that King would know what's going on out in space with this intergalactic war. Another thing I want to talk about real quick is just the simple fact of how closely this matches C. Eminglap's fan manga of One Punch Man vs. God, where God is invading various various planets. You see Cheetah Girl, and she has this like ancient stone that they use to kind of like seal him or teleport away and stuff. And it's kind of very similar to like how the actual canon manga is now portraying like what is happening in the story, which is pretty mind-blowing. Like, I don't know if Murata saw it and he took the idea and just ran with it, and he just loves it that much, but I gotta give credit to C. Eminglap. I mean, he drew this fan comic of God vs. One Punch Man a long time ago. I covered it here on the channel. I'll have a link in the description if you want to watch it. It appears to me that we could be going in that direction, where in C. Eminglap's version, there is multiple gods. Saitama faces off against one for a long time, but we got these hints and viewings of other gods and 5th and 6th and 7th dimensional gods. So I guess even if Saitama beat one of them, you know, a higher dimensional god would come or something like that. Now, these gods don't necessarily seem to be dimensional, but Blast is dimensional. He has dimensional capabilities. These gods more so appear to be like trying to take over either planets or the inhabitants of planets, or both. It has something to do with Earth. It has something to do with granting people power. It is part of God's goal, as we've seen him trying to grant power to Saitama, Tatsumaki, and he did successfully grant power to Homeless Emperor and Psychos, and potentially other characters like Vaccine Man. Now, what I find interesting, going back to the Dark Cubes, how they're these receptors for God to communicate with humans. In this latest chapter, God tried to grant power to Tatsumaki and make her evil, but she was too strong-willed for that. Blast came in and said, during the time when Saitama, Blast, and Flashy Flash had a cube and they were talking to God, basically, there was enough of the receptor being activated that God was able to communicate with Tatsumaki as well. Like, he slipped through and he was able to, you know, try and give away some more power. And presumably in the same time frame during this arc, we saw God take Homeless Emperor's powers away. Now, is that because Saitama picked up the cube and activated the beacon? That's possible, but then, like, how would God have given Homeless Emperor his powers before? It would have to mean that somebody picked up a cube or activated one of those cubes at some point. And whenever a cube is activated, not only can God grant power to whoever is touching it, but he can also, I guess, just look upon the earth and, you know, talk to people and try and persuade them to take his power. From the way that Blast described God's communication ability, it seems like he can only grant power or potentially even take it away when a cube is activated, as if he is far out in the distance, out in space somewhere, but those cubes are scattered throughout the universe on various planets, and when one gets activated, it's like opening up a way for him to communicate with the beings on that planet and potentially give them power. So it appears to me that he needs the cubes in order to grant power. It hasn't really seemed like that before, but now it does, like almost a sure thing. So I think this image here that we saw from this chapter is actually like an intergalactic hero association, a universal hero association. They're basically the Avengers, and they're going throughout the universe picking up these cubes to try and prevent God from granting power to people. For whatever the full reason is he's doing that, I'm not really sure yet. We don't know. But this is absolutely the final arc of One Punch Man. Like, I don't see how it can get any bigger than this. I am absolutely in love with this entire idea and how this manga is going in this direction. I mean, I don't think fans could ask for literally anything more than this. So I think after the current arc that's going on in the webcomic with the Neo Heroes and Genos' redemption arc, I guess it's gonna be the Blast and God arc after that. But it's very different than the webcomic, because the webcomic has not shown Blast and has not dived into God with the exception of Homeless Emperor. But we are dealing right now with Blue in the webcomic, who is Blast's son, so presumably Blast could show up in the webcomic at any time now, and maybe he warns them of the aforementioned God threat. So how does Saitama go out and fight in space? I mean, did these planets have oxygen? Is Blast creating like some sort of dimensional shield with like oxygen in it so that he can survive and fight out in space? Well, we saw Saitama sit on the moon, but, you know, he did have to hold his nose and he couldn't last very long, but space doesn't even hurt Saitama that much, right? So I can't wait for this. I want more hints and more information. I just absolutely love how Murata keeps teasing us and giving us more and more information, like every other chapter about Blast and God. It's not all come together yet, but the pieces of the puzzle are starting to fall into place. Now, there's an old interview with I think one, where he said that he's never going to give Saitama a challenge, but that's old, and maybe he's going to change that. Maybe with the help of Murata, they'll develop some crazy, end of the universe type battle where Saitama actually is pushed to his limits. I mean, that is what fans want to see, but there is another underlying question. Did God somehow grant Saitama his powers? And if Saitama defeats God, does he lose his powers? And then that's the end of the series. I mean, that's potential as well, but I really want to see these aliens, these Avengers. I want to see what their powers are. How does Blast rank among these characters? I want to see what's going on with the wars on other planets, but I assume that what's happening on Earth is probably happening on other planets as well, and they're going to have their champions too. And I think it would be super cool if Blast tests Saitama to see if he's strong enough to help him in the intergalactic war. That would be a chapter to remember. Hey guys, I'm Mastar. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a thumbs up, and I'll see you soon for some more One Punch Man.